Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of People's Perspectives. Today I'm going to be sitting down with my great friend Eric. If you want to know anything health, fitness, bodybuilding, any of that related, watch this podcast, listen to this podcast. It's going to be great. We get into a lot of details about some really cool stuff. He's such a nice guy, super due diligent in whatever he preaches. So I really hope you guys enjoy, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you guys think. If you have a question for him, reach out. I'm going to be linking all of his stuff down below on the YouTube channel. With all that being said, I hope you guys really enjoy it. It's a great conversation. Alrighty, and welcome everybody back to another episode of People's Perspectives. Today I'm sitting down with my great friend Eric Dunnill. He's just all around such an amazing guy. Honestly, if you don't know me personally, I was super big in the fitness industry, still kind of am. I've done 2 bodybuilding shows, and he's actually the first person that pushed me in the right direction in terms of motivation to actually pursue bodybuilding. And it happened when I think I was 17 going on 18, right out of high school. And we were at the local rec center gym, and he was a trainer there. And this was the first time I met him, period. And I met him through a mutual friend at the time. And I was just talking to him saying, hey, look, this is kind of like an ambition of mine. I want to go into men's physique, into bodybuilding and stuff like that. And not only did he say, yeah, that's awesome, you should do it. We sat there and had like a 15-minute conversation. He went into details all about everything, that this is what you should do, like this is what you should expect. I think that's really cool. And it's one of those things that I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to stick around with this guy forever, because he's so motivational, super due diligent, and having conversations with everybody. And honestly, I don't think I would have done any half of what I've done in my bodybuilding career and fitness industry if it wasn't for this guy. So without any further ado, Eric, thank you so much for joining us, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that you think so highly of me, and it's been a pleasure seeing you grow up since you were 17, 18. You're 22, 23 now.
You're gonna be 22 in the summer, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I've already known you for 5 years. It's unbelievable, and you've just taken such great strides in your training and your life. I'm really happy we've been a part of that, and I appreciate being on here. So, for everyone who has not met me before, my name's Eric. I am 26 years old. I am a personal trainer and online coach. I've been one since I was 18 because as soon as I found out what I loved, I was so desperate to get certified that the second I could, I did. And it's been my only pursuit ever since. I've never done anything else. I've never made money doing anything else. It's what I wanted to do right from the get-go. I found myself born into it really because my mom, ever since I was tiny, has been managing various gyms over the years. Sandcastle Fitness, in particular, for 10 years, my family ran. And my uncle was a national level bodybuilder before I was born. So, literally, I was born into fitness. I'd always been around gyms, I'd always been around athletes. So, it came quite naturally for me to find what I wanted to do. And I'm fortunate for that because I know for many it's very difficult to find that passion, that pursuit that you want to pursue your whole life. I don't think I could do anything else. I don't think so.
I think that's so true. I mean, a lot of people, even in their late 40s, 50s, 60s, they still haven't found the passion, or even had the drive to follow their passion. For anybody who doesn't know, Eric has been in and out of the gym in, like, day in, day out. He's been absolutely like 100% on his diet for years now. I don't think I've ever seen him miss a beat in terms of dedication to his craft. Like, he's up there with like a lot of people that like I admire, like professionally, but he's one of those guys that, he just loves it. He's in the gym regardless if he's training a client, regardless if he's training himself, regardless of his if he's eating, he's in the gym. And he's I don't even know if you realize you do this, but you're there as a motivational factor to people. Like when I talk to people in the gym, and back when I used to work at the supplement store, there's a few times when it's especially the younger kids, when they walk in and they're like, yeah, man, we see Eric in the gym, and we got to go put some work in and stuff like that. Like there's no kind of just walking through everything. And I think it's not only is that absolutely amazing for yourself, like you are accomplishing a lot of amazing things, but you're setting like a great example for everybody else. And I just want to say thank you from me and from everybody else. Like, you set some great examples, and you are still so young. we are still so young, and I am so excited to see like 10 years, 15, 20 years down the future where all of this is going to take us.
I get told, Eric, you're so young, you're just a baby all the time, even now at 26. And it's true that there are always people watching. And I remind myself that when I'm in the gym, whether I'm with a client or training myself, I present myself in a way that's going to set a good example for the young people upcoming, because people are young people are watching. They find people they look up to, and they will watch and they will learn, and they will present themselves in such a way similarly to the people they look up to. So training, for example, if I'm going to be training heavy, I better make sure I'm training properly. I better make sure I am providing what is the epitome of good form for the young people, that I show you have to train hard, but you have to train smart and you have to be consistent. Because if I have a youngster come up to me and ask me questions, I want to be able to preach what I practice. I want to be able to say, well, this is what you should do, but I do it too. I'm not hypocritical in the sense that I'm throwing weight around. I never rest. I'm lazy with my diet. But I say, oh, you have to eat well. You have to be consistent. You have to train hard. You need to do what you're telling others to do, especially in the gym, because, like you said, people are watching. And I can't ask for more than being a role model for people, young or old, because the gyms are saturated with all ages, and age does not always correlate with experience. Someone can just be starting their journey when they're older, and they'll see someone who's relatively seasoned, and they'll want to learn from them. So I need to make sure that I set that example for people at all times. And not to say that I'm not that way anyways, because I've been thankful to be raised very well. So I will be authentically myself, but I have to make sure that I'm professional in that environment at all times.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what you said. Practice what you preach is so important. There's a lot of, you and I have talked about this before, but like, fitness gurus and people who love to talk and love to say you should do this, do that, but have never experienced it. There's a lot of bodybuilding coaches out there, coaches who have never prepped anybody or have never prepped themselves and don't know what it's like to get to that extreme point. And it's for yourself, everything that you would ever recommend to somebody, you've done and you've experienced and you know what it's like. And I think that's very important because you're speaking from experience,
Yep.
which, as you said, even though, 26, young in the grand scheme of things, you have years and years of experience. And it's not, a month on, a month off. It's, years of straight dedicated experience. And I think that's super important when looking for a role model for a lot of these kids. They're on Instagram, they're on YouTube and stuff like that, and they see these guys that look really good and maybe they have nice cars and maybe they have like pretty girls or whatever following them around and stuff like that, but they might not even practice a single thing that they preach, or they might try to sell something that they're affiliated with some brand or something like that. And I think it's just great that still we have people like yourself as a solid role model for these young kids, and then that continues forward because now these kids are going to be great role models for the next generation under them. And then if it keeps going that way, I think that's great when it trickles down positivity and good role models and good examples. I think that's solid. When you were growing up, just getting into the bodybuilding industry, like you said, oh, excuse me, your uncle, national level caliber bodybuilder. Did you have any other role models or any role models that you picked stuff from that has kind of carried you through some stuff?
Well, growing up, when it came to bodybuilding, my uncle was my bodybuilding hero. There's videos of me when I was a baby of him holding me and making me pose, like taking my little arms and making me hit a bicep shot and a side chest. And it's funny because even before I knew that I loved bodybuilding, it was always the muscular physiques that appealed to me. I used to watch cartoons like all of us do, and it was always the jacked characters that I looked at. It was always the characters with superhuman strength, like Superman or Spider-Man. Like, wow. As individuals, and speaking in terms of individuals, however, Dorian Yates was really the first bodybuilder that I began to admire. And I mean, his physique speaks for itself. For those of you who know who Dorian Yates is, six-time Mr. Olympia, his physique speaks for itself. It's unbelievable. But the fact that he really didn't start with anything, and he had to learn himself and understand himself and practice and apply and experiment on his own and accumulate knowledge to get where he eventually ended up being is what I respected and admired so much. He he's a thinking man's bodybuilder. And for those of you who do struggle gaining muscle or losing fat or gaining strength in the gym, understand that learning how to get there, not just trying and failing and trying and failing and trying, but to study and to learn and figure out why the body does this and for what reason. And then conjure ideas to apply to yourself. That's a fantastic thing. And that's what Dorian did. So instead of listening to the first thing I see in a muscle magazine, which we all love our muscle magazines. If there's
Yep.
still muscle, if there's still muscle magazines out there, because everything's on social media, think for yourself. Just because the magazine says you have to do 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps of every single movement does not mean it's necessarily right or necessarily right for you. It's going to take time to find what's going to work for the individual, because nothing in bodybuilding is concrete. Human bodies differ so greatly in terms of genetic capability, individual metabolism, life history, moods. It's unbelievable. So you can't just throw everyone under the same blanket and say this is how it works. Go on, have fun. And that's why I like Dorian so much, because he went against the grain and figured out what worked for him.
Yeah, I think humility to realize that you might not know exactly what to do. A lot of people lack in the gym.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the times it's attached to ego. When you're in the gym, you're not alone unless you own your own gym and you have the luxury of training alone and stuff like that. If you're newer in the gym, everything that you try that's new, you have the potential to fail at. So, you have a potential to fail at a bench press. You have a potential to maybe even not be able to do like a second set of walking lunges or stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it's the humility to say, hey, you know what? I'm in here for myself. I'm not in here for anybody else. I'm super big on do your own research for what works for you. And going in there and trial by failure and trial by error, and realizing that, hey, look, this works super well for somebody else, but might not work well for me because of this and that, or I like this better, or this seems to work. And then realizing that that's okay, that things might be different, is super super crucial. Like, we can even look at like you and I, like, you have stellar legs and stellar shoulders,
Mhm.
where for me, my specialty is in my back. I have smaller shoulders. I have decent legs, I think, for myself, but I have a really good back. So where you might train more of your back or maybe your chest or something like that more than I would, I might be training more shoulders, and I might be focusing, let's say we're doing push pull legs, I might be focusing a lot more on my shoulders where you might be focusing on your chest, vice versa. So that's figuring out where's your positives, where's your weaknesses, and trying to make that all work best for you. And I think that's super important for people starting out. And even 2 or 3 years in the grind, people forget that they don't really know as much as maybe they should know. And it's resetting your mind and resetting that, you know let's try
Mhm.
something new. Let's keep innovating and keep educating ourselves.
Mhm. I I think I love where you went there talking about regulating your training to the specific person and how my delts grow like nothing, so I don't actually train them directly at all. And Your chest has always been, since I met you, it grew very, very quickly, and you always had a stellar trap development. So you may not have to be so specific in regards to that. But that being said, I'm a very firm believer, especially for novice lifters and intermediate lifters. Most of us really need to work on everything. If you
Hmm.
if you're getting started in the gym, or you're relatively seasoned, even me, I'm 5'9", I'm 235 pounds, and I still feel like, man, I have to work on everything. I have so many gaps still. I can't really justify thinking, oh, I really need this little piece or this little piece. So I'm very much an advocate of sticking with the true basics and becoming incredibly proficient with them and getting incredibly strong with them in all rep ranges. And that's going to yield an incredible result. And if you do that for 6 months, a year, as long as you can milk that program and recover from it, then you're going to realize, oh, okay, now I know what I really need. If you notice things are slowing down in contrast to other muscle groups from doing the real working moves, then you're gonna know what's lacking. If you've been training for a year and you say, "Oh, my arms are too small compared to this," like, well, no, unfortunately, everything's too small. You can't really. You generally, this is not everyone, because some people blow up very quickly, and you know very quickly what responds and what doesn't. But for most of us, because most of us aren't inherently gifted, the best thing you can do is just get very good at the movements that incorporate a lot of muscle groups. And over time, you'll realize what needs work and what doesn't. You can slowly begin to isolate things and change your structure of your training to work for you, to be specific for you.
Yeah, I'm I'm right on board with that. I think patience is a huge thing in
It's
in the sport of
humongous.
fitness. Huge. And it's people think, okay, like let's say people want to grow their legs. They're thinking 4 to 6 weeks, they're gonna have the best legs in the entire world. And
I wish.
yeah, you and me both, right? And yeah, it's patience. And it's exactly what you said. It's having the patience to nail the fundamentals.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with a building, with a car, whatever you are own and operate in. If the fundamentals suck,
Yeah.
everything else is going to fall apart.
If I may, to tie into this, and I know, like you said, bodybuilding is a game of patience, training is a game of patience, progress is a game of patience. But that doesn't mean those that are training should not appreciate what is in the now, because everyone wants to have the body of their dreams. Everyone wants to be jacked and lean and strong or fast. But enjoy what you're doing now, because while you're starting your journey, these are going to be the best gains you make of your whole life. As long as you keep train, if you train efficiently and consistently, you're going to make the most incredible gains, and your body's going to flourish, and your strength's going to skyrocket, and your recovery is going to be unbelievable. So what I'm saying is, you need to make sure you stay in the present with that. Be patient with yourself. Be hard on yourself, but don't put yourself down. Realize you're making changes. Realize that you're growing. It's never going to be as fast as you want, but enjoy the process in the moment. That's something that I make the mistake of doing. I'm sure you felt the same way. It's like, oh, when I'm here, I'll be happy. When I bench 3 plates, I'll be happy. When I squat 5 plates, I'll be happy. When I'm 4% body fat on stage, I'll be super happy. When I win an overall, I'll be happy. Every moment you need to appreciate. Every moment you want to enjoy, and just savor the fact that you're in your favorite place doing your favorite thing, whether it's a good workout or a bad workout. That's something that's so crucial when striving for progress, is just love it. Every moment, just love it and remember to love it.
You're spot on with that. I think, a lot of people a lot of people don't give themselves enough credit when they're extremely dedicated and
Absolutely not.
disciplined. And you know what? Um if you're somebody who can barely manage one pull up, but your goal's 20 pull ups and you get to 10 pull ups, should still be pretty damn proud of
Yeah,
yourself for doing 10 pull-ups. Even though you haven't got to your goal, holy crap, man, you've increased a lot. And it's,
tenfold.
oh yeah, and it's being proud of yourself, but realizing there's more work to be done.
Exactly. The proud
And
but never satisfied.
exactly. And it's understanding that it's a wave. It's not a consistent progression. You and I both know this. You're gonna have your good days, you're gonna have your bad days, you're gonna have your good months, you're gonna have your bad months, life impacts stuff, your jobs, your relationships, your sleep patterns, your food, that all impacts the gym. And a lot of people kind of take back and just go, oh, my gym sucks, blah, blah, blah. It's not a consistent process. Well, it might be other parts of your life that are affecting the gym, and you can't beat yourself up for that. And realizing that it's going to be that wave and still enjoying everything that you're doing and realizing that maybe even your down parts now was your max like 3 months ago.
Yes.
And I think that's people recognizing where they've came from and where they still have to go and being happy but not satisfied. Exactly what you said, I think is so important.
Absolutely. I remind myself and people I've worked with, there's always going to be a worse day. But you can recognize when you're having your worst day and make your next worst day a little better than the last. And that's progress because you know when you're there and you can just push that little foot forward, just a half a step forward. That's still progress.
I that's exactly right. This is why I love talking with you, because a lot of people, especially outside in the gym, don't think like this. And for I'm sure there's a lot of younger kids listening here, and this is a question I get a lot. Um, Younger kids say very low level in terms of fitness education and stuff like that. Where do you even start? I mean, like, you have your diet, you have your supplements, you have your influencers that they follow, you have training programs, you have gyms, you have all of that.
Mhm.
Speaking from somebody who's trained people, who've started out to training with people who are elite level lifters, where's just a good starting base for not particularly younger people, but just anybody in general?
Well, the first thing I want to do is learn about them, who they are, what they've done, what they like. I want to know their history. But we're speaking in terms of your average Joe who's relatively healthy, right?
Hmm.
No injuries, no concerns in that regard. The first thing I want to do is see how they move. So you can pinpoint things about them that may need more attention because you're not just going to throw someone under a squat bar if they can't move properly. In terms of exercises, as I had mentioned previously, even with someone like myself, you want to incorporate a lot of compound work for the beginner. And that's not just because compound work builds more muscle, because it does, but it's understanding your body mechanics. It's understanding your body in the given environment. So you have an understanding of how you move and where muscles move and what muscles work in conjunction with each other. So when you can gain an understanding of your body and how your body moves and how your body works and which muscles work together, you can understand how an exercise works and which muscles work with an exercise. And from there, you begin mastery of execution with those movements. And once you have proficiency in the movement pattern, then you can begin to apply load or additional volume in the movement to continue proficiency because more sets is going to be more practice. Kind of like riding a bike. If you want to learn to ride a bike, you're not going to bike once a week, you're going to bike every day. If you can do a movement as many times as possible, as long as you can recover, that's going to make you better at the move. Now, once you've had proficiency of the movement, you can start applying load, adding a little bit of weight at a time, standardizing that form, making sure it doesn't change from how you started it. And once you start to get a little bit stronger and you're proficient at these moves, then you can start applying some effort, some output, some intensity, because you don't want to be pushing yourself to the limits if you don't know how to move, if you don't know how to use those muscles. So that's how I would structure programming with new clients. Make sure they know how they move, how their muscles work, how the movements work, mastering the movements, adding load to the movements, and then adding output to the movements. Because effort can cause form to go awry. We know that when you start getting in your head and working harder and pumping heavier and getting intense and getting mad and all that jazz, form can slip. Now, if form slips with terrible form to begin with, that's a big ouchie. If form can slip with perfect form, then you at least you're safer in that regard. Now, I don't recommend people to slip form in the first place, but if you're going to work hard, make sure you are a master of your movements and aware of how your body works. That's how I would start with the client.
I think yeah, that's a lot of people don't realize maybe they might not be able to squat, or they might have to really work on their core inefficiencies, or maybe they might have horrible shoulder alignment, and they're just going to go follow some cookie cutter program that says, squat twice a week, do a bunch of shoulder presses, stuff like that, and it's not going to work out with them. And that's where it's having the humility to realize your inefficiencies, especially when you're starting. Get in that realistic ground base, I think is so important. And then to tie in with training, which I know this part you're you're pretty darn perfect at, is diet. For the average Joe, let's say we're doing 3 to 4 times a week, nothing super super crazy, but we want to be healthy, we want to maximize recovery, and we want to be strong in the gym. What would you do? And then how do you compare that to what you're doing yourself?
Well, for an individual who's active and wants to be healthy, the very first thing is you find a sustainable diet. You find foods that you enjoy, you find foods that are accessible, foods that you can eat often, and you create a program based on that. Something you can do day to day to day and not feel stressed out by, not feel burdened by. Everyone's going to be different because not everyone likes the same food. Not everyone can eat the same amount of food. Then from there, if we're speaking in terms of recovery, protein is the most important macronutrient. Not only just for muscle growth, but truth be told, the body doesn't really want to build muscle. So protein supports the nervous system, the organ system, the skin, the immune system. It doesn't really think about building muscle till the very end. So you need to have sufficient protein if you're thinking about building muscle. Carbohydrates are the body's first source of energy, fast acting energy. So having sufficient carbohydrates in your diet is going to be key for optimizing performance, particularly around your workout. Fats, and fats get a lot of smack, of course, because fats mean think fat.
Yeah.
Fats are essential for regulating natural hormone production because, for those who don't know, our key sex hormones, estrogen, testosterone, are cholesterol based. It comes from fat. Fat supports healthy hormones, especially for females, actually, too, because females actually should have more fat in their diet than a man should have in their diet. But either way, having a minimum amount of or a minimum amount of fats, not minimal fats, but minimum amount per person to keep your hormones happy is essential. You need it if you want to function properly. And then from there, make sure that you eat enough fiber because
Hmm.
fiber is necessary for a healthy gut, healthy digestion. And then you find the foods you enjoy. You structure your program from there, and individual macro counts are going to differ person to person depending on their composition, their individual metabolism, their activity level, their weight. It's going to vary. And I structure myself very, very similar to that. I eat, because I train quite strenuously, I eat a very high protein diet. I eat about a gram and a half per pound of body weight, which is the upper limit of protein intake. My carbs are quite high. I eat about 600 to 700 grams of carbs a day. And fats, I eat about 100 to 110. So it's just over zero point 0.4 grams per pound, which is just over what we consider the bare minimum.
Gotcha. And what's calorie wise, are we looking around 42, 4,300 around there?
Between 42 and 45, depending on training and rest days.
Gotcha. And for anybody listening, um, that's a lot of calories and that's a lot of food. But for Eric, he's been doing this for years and years. And so if you're looking for a diet, don't jump into
Don't just eat
600 grams of
5,000
carbs or
calories.
anything like that. But for Eric, it works super well for his body, and he's been following stuff very similar to this for a while. But yeah, I think that's great. How has that been working out well for you? Have you made any changes to your diet compared to where I would have seen you last year?
Healthier food options,
Mm,
healthier food choices. I found foods that digest better for me, and that in turn led to being able to grow more off of the same food or even a little bit less. Because last year I was eating about 4,700 calories, but truth be told, I felt like a balloon all day long. And I mean, when you're eating a lot of food, you're going to feel pretty full throughout the day. But there's that stomach ache where you're just like, oh, I don't like this. And then there's, okay, I'm full. I realized my digestion just wasn't where I wanted it to be. It wasn't optimal. So picking healthier food choices that may be a little bit less dense, so I just have to eat more food, resulted in a happier stomach for me. So just find the foods that worked for me has
yeah,
been
good, healthy, wholesome foods. I think a lot of people think, you can only get big off, burgers and huge steaks and all this junk food sometimes. And like, I think people neglect that. You're gonna probably get better results if you just eat
if you can
whole
digest your
foods.
food. If you can
Hmm.
digest your food. Some people can digest burgers and fries like no one's business.
Yeah,
It's a dense calorie source. Why not use it? If your food's digesting, you're going to use it better. And that's going to result in better results and a happier gut.
happy. A lot of people don't realize how much, your gut plays on your emotions, your hormones, and how you function throughout the day.
Well, if people don't know this, something like serotonin, for example, is produced primarily in the GI tract. So
Mhm.
having a healthy gut can actually make you happier.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a little hard to be happy when you're super lethargic, walking around, big belly. I
Oh,
think
totally.
you and I have both done that. I mean, you more than me, but we both know what it's like to be super full and then force another meal down, and it's not a good feeling. One more thing I wanted to touch on, and I know this is especially for the more novice bodybuilders, maybe the younger generation, huge thing for them is supplements.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have talked about this, and we have very similar opinions on this, I believe. And for me personally, it's supplements are the last thing that you should worry about. There's certain supplements like your fish oils, depending on maybe your vitamin D during the winter and stuff like that, that I think are absolutely spectacular, and like those are crucial things that should be portions of your diet. And if you're really struggling to get your protein in, protein powders and stuff like that can help. But then there's other things that might be a little bit more of a marketing gimmick and stuff like that. What's your opinion on supplements as a whole?
Supplements are just that. They're supplements, supplemental to a training regime, supplemental to recovery, supplemental to a healthy diet. Supplements mostly are a ploy. Mostly.
Hmm.
You already summarized very much what I was going to say. I recommend a good multivitamin, but interesting enough, with the Western diet, it'd be very difficult to have a nutritional deficiency.
Hmm.
Very difficult.
Hmm.
But I recommend a good multivitamin. I recommend a multi-mineral. I recommend fish oils. I recommend vitamin D3. So you hit the nail around the head. You've been in the supplement industry longer than I ever had been. But I think protein powder is a gift. But people get afraid of protein powder because they say it's processed. But the processed the processing of the protein simply makes it a more effective absorption for the
Hmm.
individual. So taking it away isolate, you're getting the fastest source of protein you possibly could. Now, if you like skim milk, if someone likes skim milk, then you're gonna get, truthfully, you're gonna be very, very close, because milk proteins and egg proteins are the best source of proteins you can possibly get. There's nothing better. Egg is actually number one. Egg is
Hmm.
number one. Unfortunately, it's conjoined with fats because of the yolk. Therefore, it's going to be slow absorbing. But it is the best source. I like protein powders because a fast-acting protein you can take in anytime you're in need of it. You pair that with a fast-acting carbohydrate, and you have a beautiful post-workout if you're training hard. Pre-workouts, eh, I love it.
I do too. I'm not gonna lie.
Do I think that they're overused? Yes.
Agreed.
The dosaging that you can get from a pre-workout, if you buy a 30 serving of pre-workout, you could use half a scoop and just go half a scoop, half a scoop, half a scoop, and just reap the benefits of that kind of dosaging and see and feel great. I'm not going to see amazing results because, in terms of importance, in comparison to food and training and recovery and stress management, supplements are really the lowest tier thing. That doesn't mean I don't think they're great, because some supplements have their merit, like we mentioned. But I think people stress too much importance on them, and the industry does do that too. They say, you take this, you're gonna look like Jay Cutler. I wish. But when people who don't understand that, they see these things, then they're convinced they'll take this product and it's going to give them results. I was there when I first started working out at 17 years old. I thought taking Nitro Tech from Muscle Tech, their whey protein, I thought I was going to blow up. I thought it was going to be the greatest thing in the world. And it's delicious. And I like Muscle Tech. But unfortunately, it doesn't just do the work for you. Nothing does.
No, it's you put in the work that you get back, and if you expect anything more than the work you put in, you gotta recheck your mindset, because that's not how life works. That's not how a lot of things work. And I think, especially, like you nailed it up, people put too much importance on supplements, and I think a lot of people, I think unknowingly act in a lazy way of to use supplements. They'll say, "Oh, I'm not gonna cook or eat this meal. I'm gonna have this protein bar," or "I'm not gonna, get a solid amount of sleep. I'm gonna take this sleep product, and that's gonna compromise or compensate for my lack of sleep and my lack of discipline and stuff like that." And nothing outbeats hard work and structure.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up sleep, because sleep
Sleep.
is sleep is king. Sleep is when your body recovers. Sleep is when your body grows. It's not when you're in the gym. It's not when you're training. It's not when you're stressing the tissue. When you're on your bed and you're out cold, you're growing. You're growing. So sleep.
Sleep. Get your 7, 8, 9 hours a day. Sleep is, I think, yeah, a lot of people realize your body grows, the 22, 23 hours you're not in the gym.
Yeah.
That hour or two that you spend in the gym, you're breaking your body down so it can grow back bigger,
Yeah.
which a lot of people don't realize. And it's having that first meal after the workout, super super crucial. It's having that great night's sleep, that's super super crucial. And it's yeah, it's a process. I think a lot of people kind of lack the understanding of,
It
it's
just time. It just takes finding the right people with the right information and the honest information to give it to you. And I don't blame anyone for not knowing. I don't,
100%.
because I trained for years. Even just myself, if I talked to myself 2 or 3 years ago, I would retract a lot of the stuff that I would tell people, especially in regards to training, especially in regards to nutrition. I would retract a lot of stuff I would have said. And at the time, I was very certain of what I was saying. But you learn from more people. You learn improved information, valid information, and you realize, oh, I need to correct myself, and that's okay. And that's, like you said, that's taking your ego and throwing it aside and saying, hey, I was wrong. I've learned, I've grown, I've understood. And it's so important. If I thought I know anything now, I'd be an idiot, because The people that I'm learning from are literally experts in their field. They're doctors. They study, they research, they experiment, and it's important to learn from these people. And there's something to be said for anecdotal response to training or anecdotal response to food, because people
Oh
are
yeah.
quite individualistic. But that's why they do have control groups, and they have random participants in studies and such. But you need to realize that not everyone's the same. So your response, if your response works, don't change it. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. And and it's what's resulted in these experts finding these things, because people saying, someone like Dorian, for example, saying that these intense bouts of training are going to result in growth. Working with a relatively low volume in contrast to others and just blasting it and then resting is going to result in growth. It can completely against the grain of being in the gym for 2 or 3 hours, just pumping, pumping, pumping. He used effort as a driver for growth. Of course, calculated, and it was logged, which I find is an essential tool. Understanding where you've been and where you're going through documentation, but it went against the grain. And in turn, mechanical tension has been shown to be the ultimate driver of growth. Becoming proficient and stronger leads to bigger muscle.
Getting
So,
back to the foundation and
yes.
being strong with the foundations.
Mhm.
100%.
And science led to that after the fact. So that shows that anecdotal response can actually lead to findings. Now, that doesn't mean I love when it says, "Oh, it works for me," and they just ignore it. It's like, okay, maybe there's something that could work better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just rambling about that because I'm very passionate about
Oh,
information.
that's okay. That's why I love talking to you, because you're gonna say what you think, and then you're gonna say why you think that way,
Mhm.
and then back everything up with this is where I learned it from and stuff. But then you still come to the fact that, like what you just said, like you're gonna consistently second guess yourself and consistently say,
I do.
is this still relevant? Is there new data? Is there new
Mhm.
whatever? And
And
it's the evolution of your knowledge, I think, is
yes,
great.
the only way I figured this stuff out was I read it, I understood it, and I applied it to myself. I've been training with a low volume approach in session with moderate to high frequency, as opposed to a lot in one session and then just resting throughout the week for other muscle groups, for a couple years now, 2 3 years of a low volume approach, and it's been the best thing I've ever done. It's been the best thing I ever done. And the only reason I got to figure that out is because I took the time to try it. Now, if if let's say I read something, even though I'm kind of emotionally attached to this kind of training now, if someone approached me and said that this other approach is really, really good, maybe I'll consider trying it for 6 months. One thing I'm attached to, though, is training to failure. I am very much emotionally attached to failure training, even though it's the data in research says it's not the most optimal, because you can actually reap the results of failure training from a 7 out of 10 intensity, an 8 out of 10 intensity, so you have more room in the tank still. But that's just something I have a very hard time grasping. And truth be told, I don't think I could do that, because I need that output. I need those last few psychologically. That's my training high. And if that makes me happier, then that alone is actually going to induce a greater growth response, because I leave the gym stress free and happy, saying I trained hard today. I'm great. I My form was good. My numbers are improved. My mood's great. I left all the stress in the session, and now I'm walking on air.
You nailed it, and I don't think we touched on it yet, but I don't think people realize how important controlling your stress levels are, and being
Yeah.
happy in terms of, I don't care if it's gaining weight, losing weight, anything. If you're stressed, it's going to be very hard to gain weight or lose weight. If you're
Yes.
happy and confident and solid where you are as a person and in your life, things become a lot more easy.
And if I may, when we're talking about stress management, when you're in the gym, when you're in the set environment, when you're performing a set, you want to stress your body out. You want to put yourself into that sympathetic fight or flight state. You want to spike your cortisol. You want this. When you're done the set, calm yourself down, bring yourself back down, lower your stress. It creates efficiency in the body. A no stress environment is going to be the recuperation, resting, digesting time. But if you want to build muscle, you need to put your body in a state where it goes, what on earth are you doing to me? Where is this coming from? Is it weights? Is it a saber-toothed tiger? What are you doing? I don't like it. This is uncomfortable. And with that, when the body's in its resting, digesting phase, it says, I've got this time now. I need to adapt. I need to grow. I need to change my base so I can overcome this stress that may come my way again, whether it is a saber-tooth tiger or it is a heavy set of leg press, because the body doesn't know the difference. The world around us has changed more than our brain has since those times. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
body may think you're being attacked by a tiger, but you're just leg pressing. But regardless, the body's going to change to adapt to that external stressor. So being calm away and intense in is a necessity. And being aware of that. And I don't mean to think people need to overthink that.
Hmm.
But think of it this way. When you're in the gym, train hard. When you're out of the gym, take it easy, be happy. Life is good. It's a beautiful sunny day. You're with your friends, you have your family, you have your dog or your cat or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. Life's good. Train hard in the gym, enjoy life out. That's to summarize that.
100%. I mean, like, life's great. Like, the grand scheme of thing, it is great. And I think exactly what you said. It's know when to be intense, know when to relax.
Yeah.
When you master your mind, things are just very, very simple. When you can simplify things, I think that's great. And the last little thing I want to talk to you about, and because I've had a few people ask me this, and I've thought about this, and that's getting into the bodybuilding industry. And so for people, I don't care if you're going into bikini, if you're going into physique, if you're going into open, going into the bodybuilding industry. And I just want to say first off, thank you so much to the entire OG Sandcastle family, yourself, your mother, your sister, Kyle, Dave, Parker, Kira, all those people. I love you so much. You guys were all super supportive in the body when I was doing my preps and stuff like that. So thank you so much. I still use the Sandcastle bag and the hoodies and stuff like that every single day. But for people looking to get into the bodybuilding industry in terms of competing, what are some things they should look out for? And then what are some expectations that they should have for their first show?
Well, the first thing is it's not an image thing. Competing is not supposed to just be a glamour shot. Look at me, I'm on stage for the gram. That's not what bodybuilding is. And it's not what bodybuilding will ever be. And that's what, unfortunately, what social media, I think, has done to bodybuilding. It's not about Tweedledee, look at me, I'm in shape, because it doesn't, that's not what it is. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of discipline. It's a lot of time, and it's years of training and learning and trust. Because if you're working with a coach, you need to trust what they're saying. It's not just Tweedledee. That's how I'll start with that. Secondly, if you're competing, it's not a walk in the park. It's gonna take time. It's gonna take understanding your body. It's going to take being uncomfortable. There is there's a lot of information out there that's showing clients who are competing, who are doing little no cardio, They're still eating quite a bit of carbs, and they're in great shape. They've reached that point with their bodies because they took a lot of time readjusting their training and their dieting over and over again to put themselves in a position where they can get very lean off of minimal external movement and focus primarily on the food and the training. That's why I eat 5,000 calories a day almost, because then I can diet off of more food and do less work potentially. Some people can diet on huge amounts of food and do no cardio. Some people have to suffer. And I say suffer loosely because it may be taken the wrong way, but it's not comfortable. Your body is going to throw hunger cues at you like no one's business. It's going to say, I'm hungry, I'm desperate, I have to eat. It's going to take your sleep away. It's going to ruin your moods. It's going to take away your sex drive. Because the body is putting itself in a position where it's like, I can't feed myself. I can't justify doing anything else. And that's just your mind playing tricks on you, because with the bodybuilding environment, you're in control of that. Food is there, food's accessible, but the body's going to fight you for it. And an important realization is when you're hungry, your metabolism is not speeding up, it's slowing down, because it's trying to combat this environment you've put it in. So to go back to what we were saying there is, it is uncomfortable. It's not going to be the same for everyone. No one can eat tons of food. Some people can eat very little amounts of food. Some people have to do tremendous amounts of output in terms of cardio. Some people have to do very little. Understand your body. Find someone who's going to understand your body and that will diet you down safely. And I recommend understanding the process before just jumping in, because then you have an idea of what's to come. From there is knowing that, you, truth be told, do whatever class you want to do, but with bodybuilding, not every class is suited for every body. For example, I love bodybuilding. That's my class. Open bodybuilding is my favorite. But even if I wanted to do men's physique, I need to realize I have a short torso. I have a blocky waist. I have very long limbs. I don't have that shape by nature. Even if I tried to build it, even if I wanted to construct that, I could come probably close, but I'm not going to win a men's physique show. My structure just won't allow for it. If you want to be successful in your class, then you need to find the class that suits your look.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else I could recommend. I mean, enjoy the process. It's an amazing experience, and you can learn a lot from it because it's psychologically demanding.
Oh, is that your rabbit there?
Yeah, he's trying to eat the headphones right now.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So bodybuilding is psychologically demanding. So with that, you can take a lot out of that in real life application. Because if you can bring yourself to those low levels of body fat with intense bouts of training and little food and little sleep and high stress, you can accomplish a lot within yourself. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn, how disciplined am I really? Am I really that hardworking? Am I really that strict with myself? Can I accomplish this? Yes or no? And you can transfer that ethic into other aspects of your life. I mean, I know, for example, life in terms of work got a lot easier because like the sensation of feeling normal is emphasized so greatly. It's like, wow, this is what normal feels like. It's incredible, and you appreciate that, and you appreciate all the other things that you have aspiration for in life, whether it's finances, whether it's a relationship, whether it's traveling. You appreciate all those other aspects that much more, and you are usually inspired to work harder at all of them too. So you can transfer your intensity in bodybuilding into other aspects of life quite easily.
Oh, I agree. I think pre- I think you're spot on with prep is different for every single person. People deal with it differently. I think it's hard to do a really good prep without discipline. Like you need discipline. And for me personally, prep was hard. I have a hard time not eating food, especially when I'm doing a lot of activity. So I sure learned a lot about what hard work was. You wake up at 4 a.m., do your cardio before you go to work and then train and then school and then like you learn how hard stuff actually is. But then it comes back to the thing is, you know, you're suffering, but that's not really the right word for it. It's something that you're doing to yourself.
You're enduring. How's that?
Enduring, I like that
You're
a lot
enduring
more.
this endeavor. You're enduring it.
Exactly. And I think it's realizing that you don't want to try to let that affect your life in a negative way. You still want to enjoy it. You still want to enjoy prep. Like you're doing something really cool.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people sell themselves short when they're doing prep that, it's a really hard thing, but you should enjoy it. And yeah, I think you kind of hit it. Like get a coach, understand what you're doing, realize it's not going to be easy. Realize that when you see these pros walk on stage and they look absolutely amazing and they're giving their interviews after and they look like they're fine and stuff like that, they've been dying for like 3 months
They're hungry.
and they're hungry and it's they're probably not even knowing what they're saying and I think that's very true. And I think you know what you said, get your coach, have understanding of what you're going to do, realize what class fits you. If you don't have great legs and you're a bit uh and a bit more leaner and a little bit more flow, maybe physique's good for you, but if you got stellar legs and nice big full round muscle bellies, maybe open might be for you. And it goes to the girl side. If you're a little bit slimmer and you have that bikini look, that might be for you. If you have a little bit bigger shoulders, a little bit bigger legs, your back's a little bit bigger, which is totally fine, maybe physique, maybe even figure, like completely depends. And yeah, it's just I think understanding self-awareness is super, super important in bodybuilding and just fitness in life as an overall thing. Since you brought up hungry, quick little thing right before the end this off. What's your favorite cheat meal right now? What do we got?
Oh boy. Truth be told, with the amount of food I'm eating, cheat meals aren't really there all that much. But you know what? I don't mind a good burger. I don't mind a good breaded chicken burger. I love
Yeah.
chicken. I love fried chicken. That's a bane of mine. I I like the breaded stuff. So like a crispy chicken burger, that's perfect. That's all that's all I can ask for. A couple of those and I'm golden again because you're eating so much food. I don't really care.
Yeah, you're eating every 3 or 4 hours. It doesn't doesn't really matter.
But when I'm dieting, frick, bring them on. If
Yeah.
someone says we'll have one, I say by all means, by all means.
Yeah, no, I think that's awesome. I'm a big pizza guy, but I don't do well with cheese, so I try not to have it that often. Um, Eric, brother, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. I think this is going to be great for people to hear who maybe want a little bit of a starting base or just a little bit more perspective on the fitness industry and stuff like that. Just last question. Yourself 2021, what's your fitness goals and what are you striving towards?
Well, if there's probably there might not be shows this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's not, I'm still gonna bring myself down to relatively low body fat percentage. See how things look, take advantage of the rebound afterwards, push up again, pinpoint my weak points, grow, stay healthy, keep getting stronger, and just keep enjoying training. I'm I'm relatively strict with myself year round, so that's not going to change. I just want to see how things look underneath right now. I want to see how lean I can be. I want to see what needs to improve. If there's a show, I want to compete. If not, pull myself down, see how I look, push back up again, repeat until the show shows up again. I'm in no rush. I want to bring something special when I compete again. It's been 3.5 years, and it's just because I need more muscle. So we'll go from there.
I'm so excited for you to compete. Like I personally like I know me and Dave and Parker are gonna be in the stands freaking out when you step on stage, and I'm super stoked when that moment comes. Brother, thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna end this recording. I'd love to chat with you for a little bit afterwards, but I just want to say thank you so much for doing this, and hopefully we can do it again in the future.
Let me know when. I'm raring to go, brother.
You bet. Anybody who wants to follow Eric on Instagram and stuff like that, I'm gonna link everything down below, and reach out to him. Awesome guy, always willing to help. But with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us, man.
My pleasure, brother.